Sure, abuti honestly.
Thank you very much, everybody, for the questions. I hope that we will try our best to respond. The first question is, what does it take for Parliament to bring in institutions like CPUT to Parliament? I think our portfolio is very big. We have more than 120 public institutions that we do oversight over. We have not been in office for a year. We were only turning 1 year next month on the 11th of July, because we first convened the first meeting of the portfolio committee that elected myself as the chair on the 11th of July 2024. We have agreed as the committee that we are going to do a report to give account on what is it that we have done in the past year next month. So we have 26 public universities that we do oversight on. We have 50 TVET colleges that we do oversight on. We have 21 sitters that we do oversight on. Then we have other entities, Section 3A entities like QCTO, SAQA, Nsfas, CHE, NSF, NHISS, which makes the total amount to just over 120 public entities that we do. You're including the department, the ministry, and I'm sure we'll all agree that you can't count Nsfas once there. Nsfas is almost like 10 entities, because you must meet with Nsfas. Where I come from, they call it court, or fast, or quicker. You must meet with them almost every time because of the challenges in that institution. We have received, or maybe I must indicate that, so as the portfolio committee, we are an oversight board. We do oversight over the ministry, the department, all national entities, including the university. So the university on a regular basis reports to the department. We don't have the legislative powers to even investigate. We don't even have except let's leave the legislative, the human resource powers to investigate all of these allegations that we get. And we get a lot. If we look at the backlog that we have now on entities that would want to meet, we have a serious, especially in university, we have a serious backlog on what is it that we want to look at. And it will be futile for us to meet with an entity where there are allegations, and those allegations are being investigated, because it means all of those allegations in our meeting, we can't touch them because there's a separate process. Parliament is an arm of this. We've got three. We've got the legislature, which is us. We've got the executive, and we've got the judiciary. So if a matter is seized somewhere It means you can't deal with it. Let me make an example. In the first quarter, I think somewhere around February, I can't remember the dates, we had wished to interact with an institution called Durban University of Technology because there was a forensic report that was done that painted a very bad picture there. But because the Vice Chancellor took it to court, we had to remove them on our program because it was now part of a separate process in the courts. So we have seen that email. We have referred it to the department to look at what is it that they can do there, and if they see it fit, they must put in forensic there. We will interact with, and this is the commitment that we've made to the committee, with all entities under our portfolio. But when we do so, we must make sure that there are no technicalities that are used to block us from questioning certain things. So I hope I've made sense. I've tried to speak in riddles on that one, because we don't want also some of these institutions accuse us of taking sides of either workers or students against them. And we always say that we look at ourselves as stakeholders in the ecosystem of higher education, and all of us, we must work well in making sure that we deal with these things. There's I think there's a point that you've made which worries me. I think you are saying on registration data, Nsfas had closed or instructed or said to institution not to submit the registration data at the beginning of the year. And that would have meant that institutions can't send. I think would really like that you give us this thing, because no institution have said this to us, one. But if this thing exists, then it creates a problem. That Nsfas can say we're not ready for registration data until a certain period, and then at a later period, they then penalizes the students because they had initially said. So if you can just give us this part. On a cap on unaccredited accommodation, but this one I'm going to answer it in different ways. The first one is that what is unaccredited accommodation? Unaccredited accommodation is accommodation that, in the simplest understanding, does not meet the minimum norms and standards of THET. Unaccredited accommodation is accommodation that neither the institution or Nsfas can say we are approving of this student staying in that accommodation. Because if they met the minimum norms and standards, then they must go and get accredited. That is a simple this thing. Do we support students staying in unaccredited accommodation? I mean, norms and standards are very clear. We want certain level of security, certain level of Wi-Fi, and with a number of, especially female students who go through a lot in our accommodation, we don't really want our students to stay in accredited accommodation. If anybody can go in and out because there's no security, our students there will be subjected to serious GBV. So we don't want unaccredited accommodation. That's the first thing we must agree on. We want all accommodation to meet the minimum norms and standards, and they must be accredited. They must go through a process to be accredited. So why are these why are these accommodation not being accredited? It's because of one reason or the other. And we said, we have agreed with Nsfas, and we said, if we continue paying them these amounts and they are unaccredited, it means we're promoting these things of accommodation not being accredited. So they must be punished. So the 2,500 that many of you spoke about is not, it's not wrong. It's a punishment to those who don't want to get accredited. Why must they get the same as the accredited? In fact, when we went to the Free State, some of them unaccredited in Bloemfontein, unaccredited, were getting more than some of the accredited at CUT. So why would those ones want to go and accredit when they are getting more than these ones who are accredited? So we want to inform you that we agreed that there must be punishment to those people. Where we disagreed with Nsfas was that they woke up in the middle of the night on the 7th of March and issued a circular that all unaccredited are going to be given 2.5. The problem with that, it's in the middle of the semester. These students have signed lease with those people. So the difference will then have to be paid for by the student. That's where we disagreed with Nsfas. But the decision to punish unaccredited, we agree with them. In fact, next year they must say 1.5. We want them to be, they must go and many of them, it's just small issues. Just put Wi-Fi, why can't you do that? So that you are accredited, you put security, and we can sleep at night knowing that when parents release their children to our sector, they will be safe there. That's why we want student accommodation. Where we disagreed with Nsfas and we said, go and reconsider, it's in the middle of the year. It's in the middle of, it's like last year when Nsfas woke up in June and July and defunded 10,300 students. Whether they were wrong or not, but it's in the middle of them. Many of them have left their families because your system told them that they qualify. And they've now incurred debt. They took abogogo babathengele bababhukhela ibhasi bathatha umashonisa babafaka kwi-city to city baphumela Limpopo baseJoburg. And when they are there after 6 months, they've incurred debt on student accommodation and academic in the middle of the year. The same system of yours that said they qualify is now saying they don't qualify and you defund them. It's like, you know, how we described them. We said Nsfas, it's like they sleep at night and depending on how they were dreaming, they just wake up and take a decision. But that decision has got financial implications of students. So on the unaccredited, I hope you are not asking us to fight for unaccredited to be paid more. We don't agree. We agree when you say to us, because this year, it was already in the middle of the year, Nsfas must take the financial issue of this year, but next year, we ask Nsfas to even go lower than 2.5 so that we get rid of unaccredited. The application period, again, Luvuyo, I hope you're not saying that those students who applied at the end of January, Nsfas must pay for them. Let me tell you what would have happened. So in January, Nsfas, when they open registration, they actually released the circular saying, we are opening for a T1, a TVET semester 1 or trimester 1. Sorry. For those who will be going to TVET, because probably the university, the results came out on the 13th and all of that. The circular was very clear there. That is an opening for TVETs. In fact, there, even if we go to court, we will not win. I can tell you, Nsfas will wipe the floor with us. Where they made a mistake between the communication the communication problem between universities and Nsfas, because on the portal, the status will say provisionally funded, but it does not indicate whether TVET or university. So these students takes this portal to a university accepts this student. And after some time, then the student, the university writes to Nsfas. Nsfas says, no, this one, I don't have their registration during the university. They only applied during a TVET system. And the provisionally funded was for this thing. And by the way, this student knows, because they applied they applied after the circular we've released, which says this is for TVETs. Nsfas opened for universities on the 15th of September, 2024. It was a circular. Said we're opening 15th September, we're closing 15th December. So anybody who applies after 15th December for a university, they know that they've not applied for a university system. There was a T3 last year around September, which they opened for TVETs, which was open around the same time with the universities. Those students who applied that time, because many of them would have seen the system for the first time. They may have made a mistake because, and this is our arguments to Nsfas, said CEO, these students, they see the system for the first time. Like any of us, if you see something for the first time, you are likely to make mistakes on the system. This child is in high school, is doing grade 12. Why would they apply for T3? It doesn't make sense. It means it's a genuine mistake. This child is not registered at any TVET college. Why would they apply for T3? It means it's your system and the mistakes of these children. So those people, we said to them, all these students, go and make a case. How much would it cost to convert those ones who applied during that T3 between September and December? Convert it into value. Let's see how much is it. And they said to us around 800,000 because those kids, those students are at university. Then we said, go and take it to the board, let the board take a decision on this thing, but we don't see why you should say no. So those students, it is our belief and our case that we've made to Nsfas that Nsfas must consider giving bursaries to those students who are at institutions of higher learning, because that one is a normal mistake. Whether they applied for university or TVET within that period, because the university opening was, or the university application was open, we've asked them to do it and we'll follow up with them. Like I said, we're looking for a date. We wanted to meet with them in June, Nsfas, because we're really not, even if we're going to apply to even meet them at night, because it's urgent, this matters with Nsfas. The space between what basic education is producing versus what is available, Thando, at our institutions of higher learning. So it's true that we had about 202,000 university spaces. We also had about 178 or 300, I can't remember now, something like that, first F10s at TVET colleges. We also had about 150,000 available spaces for F10s in private institutions. So this 350 or so that you are speaking about comes from private institutions, public, private schools, public schools, comes from everywhere. Many of, not many, this time public schools produced more, which is a testament of 30 years of proper building of a foundation and basic education. I know Ma'am Angie was criticized a lot, but that, however you look at it, that is a legacy of that Ma'am Angie that produced so much, especially noting that not only high numbers came from township schools or quintile 1 to quintile 3 schools, the number of distinctions that came from our fee-free schools or non-fee paying schools, a number of distinctions came from them, where some of us come from in township schools. A number of, a high number actually of these bachelor passes came from, again, quintile 1, 2. So it's a legacy of, and we must give it to her, shame. We can't arrive, Minister Gwahube knows, we can arrive in 6 months and want to claim that one. That one, she must not claim it. That one is Mame. So we must give it to Ma'am Angie there. And one political party that led for 30 years during building a strong foundation there. And then, so we want to build more brick and mortar institutions. It's not easy, given I mean, you saw now, we've only, I think this week we just passed the budget now last week. The budget is not, well, the baseline is fine, but the increases that we wanted on higher education, we did not get the numbers that we wanted, but there are increases. The university, there's 2 in the pipeline. The Ekurhuleni University of Technology and the Hammanskraal Police Detective one, which are almost done. I think almost everything is ready there. We just need money, and that is why the department, we've asked them to look at triple P at the beginning, so that we're able to go 10 soil in this financially, and those 2 institutions, we must start. But we can increase capacity. I don't understand why our institutions will want to boast that they've got 15 billion in reserves. For what? When we don't have spaces for. You must invest that money in education. Why would a university say, I mean, you can build in District 6, what do you call, UCT can build a campus here in District 6, instead of saying they've got the reserves of 12 billion. For what? They are not a bank. Those are the banks that must worry about those things. We must worry about investing what we have. And if government, I mean, I said at the beginning, we give these institutions a lot of money in grants, or we say to them, go survive. But some of them can survive. Because if you can have 15 billion in reserves, why are we giving you this 900 million, 1.2 billion? We should be giving it to smaller universities to expand. But we are giving you guys across. But you guys, some of you in these institutions, you are worried about having reserves. So with the money that is already here in the system, we can collaboratively work and build enough space for everybody. But we don't have a will. Some are, there are some people who want to make certain institutions exclusive. So this one, there's a case that we're dealing with in a law school of one institution, I won't say it, where we're told that even if in the final year, you have 300 law students who are doing final year, they will tell you the degree of law here is exclusive. We only want 60 graduates. And even if you shame Wapasa, because of this thing, they will close you out. And this is something, we don't understand that particular thing. And that is why I think in that day, Mutapo, when you said maybe we need student parliament, I agree, but we also are going to have a serious colloquium with everybody in the sector to deal with a whole lot of things. There are people who don't understand the autonomy, institutional autonomy. They think they can't account to parliament. We're going to inform them what is institutional autonomy. Institutional autonomy, by the way, does not say there must not be public accountability. And they're going to account because we derive our mandate from the Constitution itself, Section 55 of the Constitution. It gives us the powers that we have to do with that. So that is how I'm going to answer the issue of the production that we're producing or getting from basic and the available spaces. There's a lot that we need to do there, and the department must play a serious role. We can't have a department that is soft, that fails to hold the universities accountable and tells them that because of autonomy, you can't tell me whether I'm illegally employing a foreign person. That's illegal. That's according to the law of this country, it's illegal. So if you don't know what you must do, maybe it's high time you give somebody a chance. Just gracefully resign, give somebody who wants to do their job there. So those people at the department, that is what we're going to tell them. I can't see are there any solutions to the accommodation providers after the decline of appeals? So there are students who stay in accommodation because they are under appeal. Their status is under appeal. And Nsfas takes 6 months, and in June they say your appeal has failed. Now, this student is incurred debt. That's what you mean. The student is incurred debt to this accommodation, but also to the institution. It's a tricky thing. Let me tell you why. By law, even these contracts, no student or no accommodation provider is supposed to house a student who's not funded by Nsfas. That is the first thing. And if they do house them, it's at their risk. That is the first part. The second part is that what happens if these accommodation providers don't house the students? Where do they stay? It means we're creating a serious crisis. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a tricky situation which will be the first to accept that it's something that we must speak about and resolve. Even though legally the accommodation provider is taking a risk, but if they did not do so, to let's say others who their appeals are now successful. So it means even those ones, they would have went home. So the number of dropouts would have been very high, because if accommodation says, I can't take you, and there's at the beginning of the 80,000 at Nsfas, it means those 80,000 must go home. So the dropout rate is it's huge. So I think we must have a discussion. Maybe let's hear how you want us to deal with this part. Let's have that discussion, because it's for us it's a double-edged sword. I think would be the first to admit to that. Yeah, on the cap, there's a number of issues. Number of issues Luvuyo must accept. The first one is that we have the criminal network on a student accommodation. And I'll tell you why. On this one, I'm not mincing my words on this one. The accommodation accreditation was exclusively with universities until around 2023. What happened at the time? These criminal networks, one, they ran down the university-owned accommodation. They will not take care of it. They'll not even paint. They'll not paint, so that you as students don't want to stay there, don't want your students to stay there. They then started this process of leasing and accrediting private accommodation. But they will go to this private accommodation people and demand money. But when you've got 2,000 beds, for us to accredit you want 800,000. And I'm saying, I'm not mincing my words. I've challenged them in 2023. I've told them, I've challenged them. If they think we're lying, they must come. In fact, we said in 2023, maybe a little bit reckless, but we said, this thing happens in all universities and we can prove it. Maybe we're a bit reckless, but today we're not reckless. We're saying it happens in most of them. Where these criminal networks that are workers of university during the day and business people at night, they take bribes. They run down university owned, they give accommodation, private accommodation, these things at the cost. Many of them, by the way, they would have written to us, we're not tamsaki. When we tell them, these people, we go to church, some of us, we're still young, we go to social events, DSTV Delicious. We go to soccer games. We know the owners of these accommodation providers because they come from the places we come from. We don't live in heaven. Some of us, we live on the ground with these people. Some of them, they went to varsity with us, they went to school with our parents, so we know them. When we say to you, you have went to Bas John, who owns this accommodation, we're not Tamsaki. It's because Bas John came to us and told us, and even told us the name of the person you have sent to them, right? So there's criminal networks there, we must agree. That is the first part. The second, how do they expect these people to give them this 800,000? It means they increase the price per bed. If you can do an investigation, go to 2018 and now and look at how accommodation has been very expensive. You know, the rise between that time and now is, you can't explain it. It's unnecessary, right? That is the part there on this thing. So Nsfas in 2023 says there's an accommodation. Let me make an example about UCT and CPUT because they're just here. There by observatory, there's accommodation on one side that belongs to CPUT. Opposite, it belongs to UCT. If you compare these two, so you can't say this one is because water in Cape Town is expensive. They are both not only in the same city, they are in the same street. But this one, this side, is 3,000 more per bed than the other one. How does that make sense? Why must we pay 90,000 on this side and pay 50,000 on the other side. What is that? Doesn't make sense. So when Nsfas presented this thing, luckily in 2023, I was a member of this committee as well. And we said, no, it does not make sense. So show us this 90,000. So maybe let's say they are charging us what's inside the accommodation, not necessarily in the street. We enter this inside, we want to see 90,000. There's no 90,000 because we were expecting to enter there to find, maybe you've got labs there, maybe we've got basketball courts, we've got swimming pool. There's none of those things. So what is this 90,000 that you want these poor students to pay there, or this government that does not have money to pay there? So it doesn't make sense. So we supported the Nsfas camp. We said to them, Nsfas, Nsfas is bringing this thing because it wants to equalize. It does not make sense. Maybe where Nsfas got it wrong was to have a cap across for metro and non-metro places. That's fine. We can take that part. But to say universities there, we say to them, Yusuf, go inform your universities to make a case. Appeal to Nsfas and say, this, maybe let me make another example that I made that time about Brandfontein, Govets. Accommodation, we're told is this one, 7,000. Okay? It's a size of in a size of a commercial flat, one bedroom of a commercial flat. They are putting 3 beds. Marabara charge up per bed 8,000. So for a size of a commercial room, they want to make 24,000. 24,000. And I said to them there, Luna, there by Metro Center in Bramfontein, there's flats this side. 300, 400 meters away, the student accommodation. So rent per square meter in student accommodation is almost 4 times rent per square meter in commercial building. So it does not make sense for students to stay in student accommodation in Bramfontein because more we can get 2 bedroom, really 2 ropatala 9,000. So it's 4,000, 4,000, but we've got a bigger bed, we've got a bigger room, we've got a kitchen, fully furnished kitchen, we've got a parking. If our parents wants to visit us, we've got a sitting room. So the 2 of us can pay 4,500 in a commercial space. Or where people who are supposed to work, who are working, who are supposed to pay more, are paying less. Poor people who have got nothing are paying more for student accommodation. So we said you are turning education in South Africa into a commodity. You are excluding, you want to exclude poor people in South Africa technically because they are poor from accessing education. And that's where we supported the cap. But we said, universities, go and appeal this thing on a case by case. Maybe at the time it was 45,000, and we said maybe 45,000 might be too little for Cape Town. But 90,000 is definitely a lot. So we want you to go make a case and say, find each other with Nsfas and meet each other halfway. These universities, because sometimes they believe they are in charge. They decided to write almost a common, I still have their letters. Almost all their letters were the same. Literally telling Nsfas to go jump. They are going to stick to their issues. And we told them that decision is going to affect students. We're not like Ankane, you know, being stubborn does not help sometimes. Sometimes plead your case. Just like now we said to University of Free State, go plead with Nsfas about this cap of unaccredited. Like we said, all universities must. Nsfas agreed. They said, we agree. We have not done things right here. So, of course, the consequences are dire. We've got many students who've not even graduated because of the cap. piece that goes every month into this thing. And it's something that we were having a conversation. We want to have a conversation with Nsfas about that. Even when a person was a private student, let alone Nsfas, if they complete, you may withhold the certificate, but allow them to graduate. Why would you deny a child an opportunity to graduate? Sometimes it's the first, they are the first in their own families to complete a qualification. Allow them to graduate. You can withhold the certificate, but give them something to prove that they've concluded this thing so that they stand a chance to participate in the mainstream economy. So it's something we'll have, because this thing already, because some institutions allow students to graduate, but some don't. Graduation, let's allow, it's something we'll have with them. So the issue of the cap, we must have a conversation with the ministry, the department, Nsfas and Nsfas, including Safetsa, Saus, and everybody else. I think I've answered this one of the whistleblower of CPUT. The department is seized with that matter. They should come that thing. You see, you are saying there are accommodation providers who want to evict students now during breaks, and what they are charging is not equal to this bed and a chair that they're giving. This is, how are they accredited and how much? Why would anybody agree who must pay 5,500 for literally, liberty as a 3/4, I guess single, literally. You know, it's bad. So it shows you what we are talking about, that there are people who are beneficiaries of these things. But we will not leave them 2 weeks back, or 3 weeks, no, last week, Wednesday was the deadline, or last week, Friday. So we wrote to all the SETA CEOs to explain to us these bursary schemes that they are running. Because it doesn't make sense. You are saying they sometimes take 2 years to pay. We were saying, why would they take 6 months to even give a student an allowance? Because if I'm funder, Nsfas can't fund me, right? And you fund this kid, this student, and you don't give them anything. So where do you expect them to get food for the entire 6 months? So that's the angle we wrote to them. I saw their emails are coming. I think the deadline is this Friday. I think I've seen Chieta wrote, I think they submitted on Sunday, on Saturday. There's some other sitters. But the point there, what we want to look at the models they're using, because clearly there's a problem. We want to look at the models they're using. We want to help them because we're a partner. I want to help them create a centralized model, because this thing of taking money and giving it to university, and you don't even tell university, this is for Teboholidzi. University, they'll take that money and accrue interest on it. They'll make money out of your money and still punish your students and still charge interest to the students. So the plan there is to create a model that will best suit our students. Yeah, we'll have a discussion on that thing. Somebody said we must create a system where SASSA beneficiary. SASSA beneficiaries don't have to prove that. I don't know, Siba, maybe it was you. Yeah, they don't have to prove that you're poor. I think it was you, Siba. Actually, that's the system. Nsfas uses a SASSA system. They've got an agreement with SASSA. So you apply, if you are a SASSA beneficiary, immediately, that is why on the 15th of December, the portal closes. On the 16th of December, Nsfas can release a list of provisionally funded, and it will say these are SASSA beneficiaries. So on the system, we can pick it up. You know, the system of Nsfas, I don't trust them much, But I went there and looked at it myself, and I could prove, I could see that, okay, here it shows SASSA beneficiary because from primary school, high school, you are getting a SASSA grant. So that is there. Their system just need to improve on any other beneficiary. Or even when the system changes. Our worry was at the beginning of the year, SASSA or the department had indicated that there were, I don't know, was it 19,000 or something? There was some number that benefited from SASSA without necessarily qualifying. So that was our worry that it might be Siba would have came from, these parents of Siba are the ones who defrauded SASSA, and now we've paid for him this site. That would have been our worry, but we do have that system. We have, they do have a system with, or an agreement with these ones of companies. They do have an agreement with SARS where they can actually, that's why sometimes they say, go give us ERP 5 or 40 something, those forms. There's a request because on the SARS, you'll say we're not working, but on SARS, they pick up that your father has got this money that they are receiving on a monthly basis. So we do have those things. Saus says, we've interacted with Saus and we've informed them that their mandate has expired. They've informed us that they're going to conference this month. We've informed them that we will not be able to interact with them if they've not went to conference. SAUS accounts to student leaders. So SRCs must make SAUS account because you guys affiliate to these unions. So you must hold them accountable. We are holding the department accountable on this one. We've had a discussion with the Director General about this thing. We'll have a conversation. I can see a student, I think that you brought too many students, so you must next time deal with
and also, Honorable Chair, we don't want them to leave on empty stomach.
Yeah.
The kitchen is saying that they will be closing in the next 20 minutes. So
I had too many, I'm lost with two.
Yeah.
We agree with the revisiting of the threshold of 350,000. I think it's been there for a number of years. The standard of living has really, the cost of living has went up. It's something that we must look at. Looking at with the current budget in the medium term will mean that we'll have to cut a number of students that we're funding. Unfortunately, unless SARS improves in getting more money, we might have a problem of not funding a number of our people. The loan scheme, on that meeting, we had a problem with Nsfas because they were telling us stories that they can't, the loan scheme, they don't have the resources, they don't have the capacity for a loan scheme. I don't understand what they were talking about because Nsfas was a loan scheme. When some of us went to varsity, we're alone. And all of a sudden, they don't have that expertise that did not make sense to us, number one. Number two, why did they agree to take the money from NSF and these sitters and get this 3.8 billion that they could not do anything with? And whether they accrued interest on it or not, how much was it? It was just, it was as if they were not ready to answer us there. But the acting CEO has assured us that they are working on it. I think we must also note that Nsfas was put under administration last year in April because there were a lot of problems that were reported. So the new board is new. I'm not sure if they've already passed 3 months now. They are new. They know what we are expecting from them. The acting CEO is acting. It shows you that we don't have a CIO there. We only have a COO, CFO. I don't know. So the management there is also, limping. So we're hoping that they will get their house in order first, address some of these issues. So it will be very difficult for us to be too harsh on them when they are new. It's all, everybody there is new. But what we told them, we said, they must not arrive there and act like there was no work done before. So they must look at the reports that would have been there, make sure that they fix on those things. Yeah, this one we've addressed. We'll have a discussion on the site. Inclusivity on sitter boards. The minister has issued another gazette. In the gazette, she's very clear that she would ask stakeholders to nominate people from different ethnic groups, people with disabilities, people from different backgrounds generally. So unfortunately, the Act here, Section 11, subsection 1 of the Skills Development Act, gives all the powers to the minister. Unfortunately, we can only hold her accountable the after effect of what would have happened. So we're hoping that she has actually committed that she wants to diversify the boards with people with proper governance, understanding, and all of that. Yeah, we can't have, maybe the last one, we can't have mitigating factors to make sure that accommodation providers in the meantime are paid. So what Nsfas is saying is that because of the system collapse at Nsfas, some of the accommodation providers are taking chances. What does that mean? It means in your accommodation, Mahandana, you have 50 people, 50 students that are staying there. And then 30 of them are Nsfas students. But because of this madness at Nsfas, you take a chance. You bill Nsfas for 50 students because you have 50 students staying there, but 30 of them are only Nsfas. So you must bill for it. So Nsfas says, if we pay here, AG is going to have a problem with us when we reconcile here because we'll end up having paid for 2 million students in the system when we're supposed to pay for 1.2. So they are taking precautions. So we understand where they come from. Our beef with Nsfas is that you can't take so long because you taking long creates a problem that I spoke about. I mean, as young guys who have nobody from at home giving you anything, you are a student, you are lucky to get accommodation. Your landlord is giving you problems. You are not getting allowances. You end up being desperate. Or no, let me go to Long Street. People there, they drink a lot at night. Let me try. Maybe I'll get 2 that are drunk, and then I'll pickpocket 2 phones, sell them, have a meal for a month. And this poor young boy gets unlucky. He gets, if he's lucky, arrested, or he gets, they panel beat him there. They open a case, he goes to jail. That is this boy who grew up in a church, somebody who's never done this before. So Nsfas not doing the right thing creates this problem. It's a socially, tomorrow this boy's got a criminal record. They fire him or they expel him at university. you have created a problem for us. Or a young girl who also does not have anybody at home. And Nsfas does the same like they've done. What does they, if they are girls, you've got these ones who've just graduated, Osiba. They've got some work, they work there at residences, they're getting a salary or a stipend. They can now afford to buy bread for themselves and the next person. So when this young girl is not given these allowances and they've been refusing the advances of Bosiba, you are forcing them to accept, to be, under duress in a relationship with somebody they don't want. So Nsfas not paying, and Bosiba is better because they're maybe still young, same age group at varsity. But there's more people who are working elsewhere. Big Mkaba. They go to these young girls because they're driving. They go there with cars. These girls are desperate. They agree because they promised to go to buy them groceries. But what they're probably sick. They don't want to use protection on these young girls because these young girls have got no choice. They agree. They either fall pregnant or they get sick because of both. So when we say to Nsfas, we understand that there's these processes we want to deal with, but deal with them fast because we don't want you to take this young girl and this young boy into these desperate situations. Because if it gets there, you are creating another social ill. If they get pregnant, both they run away and then we create single parents again. And SASSA must now pay again. It's another burden on the state. SASSA must now pay when they get to primary. Basic education must give them transport, must give them meals and all of that. We are creating more problem. So that is why Nsfas is very important to all of us. Thank you very much. If there's anything, WhatsApp. Thank you very much.
Sure, I would do ownership.